Hi there, welcome to Lesson 5 for derivatives. Here we'll be going over how to deal with when you have two terms multiplied or divided. Now, the way to take the derivative of something that's multiplied or divided is different from the way you would just take the derivative of each term when you're adding them. So what this means is if you have something like x squared times x, you can't just take the derivative of each of these and multiply them together. How you do this is by using the product rule. And the product rule says that the derivative of term 1 actually, I'll just go ahead and do this. It would be the derivative of the first term times the second term, no derivative, plus the derivative of the second term times the first term. So in this example, we'd get the derivative of x squared is 2x times x plus 1, the derivative of x is 1, times x squared. So all in all, we have 2x squared plus x squared, which leaves us with 3x squared. And then if we take this and multiply it together before we take the derivative, so we get this, we'll see that its derivative is in fact the same thing, 3x squared. So this is how you use the product rule as an alternate way of dealing with questions like this, or with other multiplication problems that will come up later. The quotient rule, on the other hand, deals with something like this. If we had x squared over x, it's a bit more annoying to deal with, but what we have is what you're supposed to do is take the derivative of the top, so d by dx of x squared, times the bottom, times x, minus the derivative of the bottom, times the top, which is x squared. So what we get here, and then on the bottom, that's the numerator. In the denominator, we need to square the bottom term. So in this example, it's just x squared. And so what we have now is this. This is the derivative. If we take the derivative of this, the quotient rule says that the derivative of this is equivalent to this expression. So let's go ahead and work this out. We have 2x times x again on the top, minus 1 times x squared, all over x squared. So now what we get is, on the top, this is 2x squared, minus 1x squared is just x squared, over x squared. This equals 1. And if we go back, like we did before over here, and cancel the x's on the top and bottom, what we have left over is x, and the derivative of x is 1. So this matches up. Now, because this is more annoying to remember, you can choose to use the multiplication or product rule as an alternative. And how you do this is you take, I'm going to clear up some space here. And so let's go back over here and take x squared over x. And although this is a quotient rule question, this is division, what we can do is take this and rewrite it to x squared times 1 over x. And now we've got a multiplication question. So we can go ahead and use our multiplication slash product rule. So we need to take the derivative of the first term times the second term plus the derivative of the second term, d by dx of 1 over x, times the first term. So let's do this. We have 2x times 1 over x plus, and let's go ahead and do a little side lesson here. If we bring this down to the bottom, how do you take the derivative of 1 over x? I know we haven't seen this yet, but you can remember from previous math classes that 1 over x is equivalent to x to the negative 1. Sorry, I had to pause for a second there. 1 over x is equivalent to x to the negative 1. So if we know that 1 over x is equivalent to x to the negative 1, we can simply use our multiplication, our power rule like we had before. So all we do is we take x to the negative 1, take the negative 1 and move it down, and decrease negative 1 by 1. So we have negative 1 times x, this is multiplication, to the negative 2. Because we've decreased this by 1, just like in all of our other questions. And this happens to work for negative powers, negative exponents too. So what we have is negative x to the negative 2, and this is equal to negative 1 over x squared. Because whenever you take something and move it to the top or the bottom, you flip the sign on the exponent. So now, let's go ahead and plug this back in. So we've taken this derivative plus negative 1 over x squared times x squared. So here, these x's cancel, and we just get 2 times 1, which is 2, plus, and we get a negative, these x squareds cancel, and we get a negative 1. So our answer is just 1, and that's exactly what we got here and here. So as you'll see, there are lots of ways to go through derivatives. You can use the product rule or the quotient rule, or simply trying to simplify it like this to get to the x. But any way you do it, it should come out fine. So I'd suggest you find whatever works best for you. And what works best for me is to just use the product rule and not deal with this. Although this quotient rule is important to know, you'll probably have to know it for a test or your homework. But in a jiffy, the product rule will get you by. So thanks for watching, and I hope you join me in the next video.